The Crixin warship emerged from hyperspace like a blade cutting through reality itself. Its crystalline surface rippled with pulses of crimson energy as it positioned itself above Tokyo, casting a shadow that stretched for kilometers. Below, millions of citizens pointed their phones skyward, capturing humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. Supreme Marshal Nyxus stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, her silver-scaled hands clasped behind her back as she studied the primitive world below. Her four eyes, each a different shade of violet, narrowed in contempt. The scans showed exactly what she expected: a developing civilization with basic space capabilities, minimal orbital defenses, and no significant military presence beyond their atmosphere. "Prepare the diplomatic channel," she commanded, her voice carrying the harmonics of royal breeding. "Let's give these primitives their one chance at survival." On Earth, Director Marcus Zhang of the Global Defense Initiative maintained a carefully crafted expression of concern as he sat before the United Nations Security Council. The emergency session had been called within minutes of the Crixin arrival, but everything was proceeding according to plans laid down generations ago. "The alien vessel appears to be a Horizon-class warship," he reported, displaying holographic images that showed only what they wanted the Crixins to know they could detect. "Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of our visible capabilities." The emphasis on visible was subtle. Around the room, the real leaders of Earth's nations shared knowing glances. For 200 years, humanity had maintained a careful deception. Every satellite launched, every space station built, every public military installation had been part of an elaborate facade. The massive viewscreen in the chamber crackled to life, displaying Supreme Marshal Nyxus in all her alien glory. Her scaled face filled the screen, silver markings denoting her royal status catching the light. "People of Earth," her translated voice rang through the chamber. "I am Supreme Marshal Nyxus of the Crixin Empire. Your world lies within territory claimed by our empire. You have two options: accept our dominion and be uplifted as a protectorate species, or face immediate extinction. You have one planetary rotation to decide." Director Zhang rose, playing his role perfectly. "Supreme Marshal, I am Director Zhang of Earth's United Nations. We request time to consult with all our world's leaders. This is a decision that affects all of humanity." "Your primitive governance structures are of no concern to me," Nyxus replied. "One rotation, no more." As the transmission ended, the chamber erupted in seemingly panicked discussion. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that didn't exist on any official record, Fleet Admiral Jun Takeshi was already issuing orders to Earth's real military command. "Begin Phase 1 of Operation Sleeping Giant," he commanded, his voice carrying to hidden bases throughout the solar system. "All fleet commanders initiate startup sequences, quantum shields at standby, weapon systems to hot status." In caves on Mars, beneath the ice of Europa, and hidden in asteroid bases throughout the system, lights began to come on. 200 warships, each more advanced than anything the Crixins could imagine, powered up their systems. Hull plates that could bend light itself ensured they remained invisible to the enemy's scans. Humanity had detected the Crixin Empire's signals nearly 2 centuries ago. Instead of broadcasting their presence to the stars, Earth's leaders had made a different choice. They had unified in secret, pooling resources and technology into a single goal: preparing for this very day. Captain Olivia Donovan watched as her ship, the EDS Artemis, awakened from its long slumber in its asteroid hangar. The largest class of warship ever built by human hands, it incorporated technologies that the Crixins would consider impossible. Quantum-locked armor, dark matter drives, gravity lance weapons. Humanity had not been idle during their centuries of preparation. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered, feeling the thrum of power as the Artemis's systems came online. "Maintain stealth protocols. We are the sword in the darkness, and today we show the galaxy that humanity will not bow." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes played out as Earth's hidden fleet prepared for war. The Crixins had expected to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, They had stumbled into carefully laid trap 2 centuries in the making. In his undersea command center, Admiral Takshi allowed himself a small smile. "The Crixans believe they're dealing with children who just reached space," he said to his assembled staff. "They don't realize they've walked into the den of a species that has spent generations preparing for war. Tomorrow, we show them exactly what humanity is capable of." As night fell over Earth, citizens watched the Crixan ship with fear, unaware that their planet was anything but defenseless. In less than 24 hours, the galaxy would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. The age of hiding was about to end, and the dawn of human dominance in the galaxy was about to begin. As dawn broke over the Pacific, the massive Crixan warship remained in position above Tokyo, its crystalline surface refracting the morning light into rainbow patterns across the city below. Inside the vessel, Supreme Marshal Nixus reviewed the latest scans of Earth's defenses with growing satisfaction. The primitives had exactly what her intelligence suggested: a handful of crude satellites, a few primitive space stations, and weaponry that couldn't scratch the paint on her smallest support craft. What she couldn't see was happening 6 kilometers beneath the ocean floor, in Command Center Omega. Admiral Takshi stood before a holographic display showing the positions of Earth's hidden fleet. Green dots representing human warships were emerging from concealment throughout the solar system, each maintaining perfect stealth as they moved into attack positions. "Status report," Takshi commanded, his voice steady despite the weight of 2 centuries of preparation resting on this moment. Colonel Ryoko Tanaka, head of Earth's Quantum Shield Division, stepped forward. "All planetary defense grids are at full power, Admiral. The Quantum Shield network can be activated on your command. The Crixans still have no idea it exists." Humanity's greatest technological achievement wasn't their warships or weapons. It was their mastery of quantum fields that could bend both light and gravity. Every major city on Earth was protected by invisible shields that could withstand forces capable of cracking planets. The Crixans, for all their advanced technology, were about to learn they weren't the only ones who could manipulate fundamental forces of physics. In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Donovan and the EDS Artemis led a battle group of 40 ships out of their hidden docks within the gas giant storms. The massive warships, each nearly 3 kilometers long, were invisible to both light and sensors as they moved into position. Their dark matter drives left no trace. Their quantum-locked hulls absorbed all scanning signals. "Engineering reports all systems at peak efficiency," her XO, Commander Marcus Chen, reported. "Gravity Lance batteries are charged and ready. Phantom drone squadrons are prepped for launch." Donovan nodded, studying the tactical display. The Crixans had positioned their fleet behind Earth's moon, 30 warships waiting to support their Supreme Marshal's ultimatum. They thought they were hidden. They didn't realize that human quantum sensors had been tracking their every move since they entered the solar system. In the Kuiper Belt, General Helena Rodriguez was overseeing the activation of humanity's most devastating weapons. Project Helios had created artificial suns that could be used as tactical weapons, miniature stars that could be launched at enemy fleets. The Crixans were about to discover that humanity's understanding of stellar manipulation exceeded their own. "Helios platforms 1 through 12, online and ready," her weapons officer reported. "Targeting solutions plotted for all known Crixan positions." Back on Earth, Director Zhang continued his performance before the UN Security Council. "The Crixan ultimatum leaves us little choice," he declared, his voice carrying just the right amount of defeat. "We must consider their terms for becoming a protectorate." In the gallery, diplomatic observers from smaller nations played their parts, arguing passionately about resistance versus submission. None of them knew they were participating in the greatest deception in human history. Only a select few knew that Earth's apparent military weakness was an elaborate facade. Deep within Mars's Vols Marineris, Colonel Viktor Petrov powered up the massive production facilities that had been hidden beneath the red planet's surface for generations. Automated factories stretched for kilometers, ready to replace any losses the coming battle might bring. The Crixans thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had barely reached their moon. They had no idea that humanity had industrialized the entire solar system. All manufacturing centers report ready, his assistant confirmed. We can begin mass production of replacement ships and weapons the moment combat begins. In her command center beneath the Pacific, Colonel Tanaka received a priority alert. The quantum detection grid had picked up energy fluctuations from the Crixin flagship. They were preparing to make their demonstration of power. Admiral, she called to Takshi, the Crixins are powering up their main weapon. Based on energy signatures, they're planning to destroy one of our cities. Takshi's expression remained calm. Let them try. The quantum shields would not only stop their attack but absorb its energy to power Earth's counterattack. Every act of Crixin aggression would only make humanity stronger. All fleet commanders, he broadcast through quantum-encrypted channels, prepare for Phase 2 of Operation Sleeping Giant. The enemy is about to give us the perfect justification for our response. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden warships moved into their final attack positions. Stealth fields remained active, weapons were hot, and crews stood ready at their stations. 200 years of preparation were about to pay off. In lunar orbit, Commander Diana Wells and her stealth squadron maintained position less than 1,000 kilometers from the Crixin support fleet. The enemy ships floated serenely, unaware that human warships had been sitting in weapons range for hours. All ships report ready, her tactical officer whispered, though the Crixins couldn't have heard them even if he shouted. Targeting solutions locked for all enemy vessels. Above Tokyo, Supreme Marshal Nixis raised her hand, preparing to give the order that would demonstrate Crixin power to these primitives. Her flagship's main weapon began to glow, energy building to levels that could vaporize the city below. She never noticed the slight shimmer in space around her ship as Earth's quantum shields prepared to receive her attack. In less than an hour, the Crixin Empire would learn the true cost of underestimating humanity. The greatest trap in galactic history was about to be sprung. Supreme Marshal Nixis watched with satisfaction as her flagship's main weapon reached full power. The energy beam lanced down toward Tokyo, a blast powerful enough to vaporize the city and demonstrate Crixin supremacy to these primitive humans. The beam never reached its target. Instead, it struck an invisible barrier that flared with quantum energy, transforming from transparent to an iridescent dome that covered the entire city. The Crixin weapon's energy didn't just stop. It was absorbed, channeled, and redirected into Earth's defense grid. For the first time in her centuries of military service, Nixis felt fear curl around her spine. Impossible, she whispered, all four eyes widening as similar shields materialized over every major human city. Their technology they couldn't have. Supreme Marshal, her sensor officer shouted. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system, they're everywhere. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet dropped their stealth fields in perfect synchronization. 200 warships, each larger and more advanced than their Crixin counterparts, shimmered into visibility. Decades of quantum research had produced vessels that could bend both light and gravity to their will. Admiral Takshi's voice boomed across all frequencies, broadcast in perfect Crixin language. This is Admiral Jun Takshi of the Earth Defense Force. For 2 centuries, we have prepared for this day. You came to our system expecting to find primitives. Instead, you found a trap. In lunar orbit, Commander Wells' stealth squadron revealed itself less than 1,000 kilometers from the Crixin support fleet. Her ship's quantum-locked hulls shifted from perfect invisibility to gleaming silver, their weapons already locked on target. All ships weapons free, she commanded. Show them what humanity can do. The space around the moon erupted in light as human warships opened fire. Gravity lance beams, weapons that could manipulate gravitational forces themselves, struck Crixin vessels with devastating precision. 3 enemy ships crumpled instantly, crushed by artificial gravity wells that turned their own mass against them. Captain Donovan and the Jupiter battle group emerged from the gas giant storms, their massive forms dwarfing the Crixin vessels. The EDS Artemis led the charge, Its dark matter drives leaving trails of distorted space as it accelerated to combat velocity. "Launch Phantom squadrons," Donovan ordered. "Let's show them why humanity chose to hide our strength." Swarms of advanced fighter drones deployed from the human warships. Unlike traditional fighters, these were piloted by quantum AIs, capable of maneuvers that would kill organic pilots. They swept through the Crixin formation like wolves among sheep, their energy weapons slicing through crystalline hulls with surgical precision. In her flagship above Tokyo, Nyxus frantically ordered her fleet to battle stations. But the Crixins had walked into a carefully orchestrated kill box. Every possible escape route was covered, every tactical option already countered by plans laid down generations ago. "Multiple energy signatures detected in the Kuiper belt," her tactical officer screamed. They're artificial stars." General Rodriguez had activated the Helios platforms. Miniature suns burned into existence at strategic points around the solar system, their carefully controlled gravity wells cutting off Crixin escape routes, while their radiation interfered with enemy targeting systems. Colonel Tanaka's quantum shields continued to absorb every Crixin attack, each blast only making Earth's defenses stronger. The absorbed energy was redirected into the human fleet's weapons, creating a feedback loop that turned the enemy's own power against them. Detecting Crixin reinforcements attempting to jump in, Commander Chen reported from the Artemis's tactical station. But humanity had prepared for this too. Hidden quantum field generators activated throughout the system, creating a web of distorted space that made faster-than-light travel impossible within Earth's sphere of influence. Any Crixin ship attempting to jump in would be torn apart by conflicting gravitational forces. "Your Empire's arrogance has led you into a trap 2 centuries in the making," Admiral Takshi broadcast. "Every attack you make strengthens us. Every strategy you try has been anticipated. You came to subjugate what you thought were primitives, but humanity has been preparing for war since before your empire knew we existed." In the chaos of battle, Nyxus watched in horror as her fleet was systematically dismantled by weapons and tactics she couldn't even comprehend. Human ships seemed to phase through solid matter, their quantum drives letting them ignore traditional physics. Their gravity weapons crushed Crixin ships into artificial singularities. Their phantom fighters moved with impossible precision, exploiting weaknesses the Crixins didn't even know their ships had. "All Crixin forces," Takeshi's voice carried no emotion, no hint of triumph or rage. "You have 30 minutes to surrender. After that, we will demonstrate the full extent of humanity's military capability. The choice between survival and extinction is now yours." As her flagship systems failed one by one, Supreme Marshal Nyxus realized the terrible truth. The Crixin Empire hadn't found a primitive species ready for conquest. They had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had spent generations preparing for this exact moment. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity would no longer hide in the shadows. The next 30 minutes passed with excruciating slowness aboard the Crixin flagship. Supreme Marshal Nyxus watched helplessly as her supposedly invincible fleet drifted powerless, surrounded by human warships that seemed to defy the laws of physics themselves. 2 centuries of careful preparation had transformed humanity into something far beyond what the Empire had expected to find. "Supreme Marshal," her communications officer called, voice trembling. "We're receiving transmissions from the Empire's border worlds, the humans. They're everywhere." Tactical displays lit up with new information. While the main battle had focused on Earth's solar system, hundreds more human vessels had emerged from hidden bases throughout the galaxy. The Empire's greatest worlds, their most fortified installations, all reported the same thing: massive human warships appearing from nowhere, their quantum drives and gravity weapons making a mockery of Crixin defenses. Aboard the EDS Artemis, Captain Donovan received the strategic updates with grim satisfaction. "Operation Sleeping Giant, Phase 3 is complete," she reported to Admiral Takshi. "All primary targets across Crixin space have been neutralized. Their command and control structure is in chaos." Humanity's true strategic genius was revealed. The 2 centuries of preparation hadn't just been about defending Earth. They had methodically mapped every critical point in the Crixan Empire, established hidden bases throughout their territory, and prepared to destroy their ability to wage war in a single, coordinated strike. In the Kuiper Belt, General Rodriguez's Helios platforms maintained their artificial suns, the network of stellar gravity wells completely isolating this sector of space. No Crixan ship could jump in or out without being torn apart by conflicting gravitational forces. The Empire's greatest fleet was trapped, powerless, and at humanity's mercy. "Their 30 minutes are up," Admiral Takshi noted calmly from his command center. "Colonel Tanaka, demonstrate the full capability of our quantum shield technology." Colonel Tanaka's fingers danced across her control panel. The quantum shields that had protected Earth's cities suddenly expanded, merging into a single planetary defense system. But this wasn't just a shield. It was a weapon unlike anything the Crixans had imagined possible. The quantum field pulsed, sending waves of distorted space-time rippling outward. Crixan ships caught in the effect began to age rapidly, their hulls experiencing centuries of wear in seconds. Crystalline armor crumbled, weapons systems decayed, and power cores flickered out as time itself was weaponized against them. "By the first star," Nyxis whispered, watching her mighty warships turn to drifting derelicts. "What are they?" The answer came from Commander Wells, her stealth squadron now positioned around the Crixan flagship. "We are humanity," she broadcast. "For thousands of years, we dreamed of reaching the stars. We created stories about meeting alien civilizations. Some were about friendship and cooperation. Others warned of conquest and war. When we detected your empire's signals, we chose to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." From his production facilities on Mars, Colonel Petrov watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. The automated factories beneath the red planet's surface were already manufacturing replacement ships for the minimal losses the human fleet had sustained. The Crixans had lost more ships in this single battle than humanity had built in 2 centuries. "Their quantum cores are destabilizing," Commander Chen reported from the Artemis. "If they don't power down soon, they'll trigger a cascade failure." Captain Donovan opened a channel to the Crixan flagship. "Supreme Marshal, your weapons are useless, your ships are failing, and your empire is under our control. The time for pride is over. Surrender, and we can prevent unnecessary deaths." In her command center, Nyxis looked at the tactical displays showing the true extent of humanity's victory. It wasn't just a defeat, it was the end of Crixan supremacy. The species they had dismissed as primitives had outmaneuvered them so completely that recovery might take centuries. "This is Supreme Marshal Nyxis of the Crixan Empire," she broadcast, her voice carrying the harmonics of total defeat. "To all Imperial forces, stand down, power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded." Throughout the solar system, Crixan ships went dark, their crews following their Supreme Marshal's orders. The greatest space battle in human history had ended not with a final explosion, but with the quiet hum of surrendering ships powering down their cores. Admiral Takshi allowed himself a small smile. "To all Earth forces, well done. The operation that began 200 years ago is complete. Humanity will never again hide its true strength." As human ships moved to secure their prisoners, the artificial suns in the Kuiper Belt cast their light across the solar system, illuminating the dawn of a new era. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted forever, and the species that had hidden its strength for so long would now help shape the future of all civilization. In the wreckage of battle, Captain Donovan looked out at the stars, knowing they would never look the same again. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them Operation Sleeping Giant is complete. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was never our weapons or technology. It was our patience, our preparation, and our determination to never again be at the mercy of those who would conquer us." 1 month after the Battle of Earth, the Great Hall of the United Nations headquarters in Geneva hosted a gathering unlike any in human history. Representatives from 50 alien civilizations, former subjects and rivals of the Crixan Empire, sat alongside Earth's leaders. The chamber hummed with translator devices as 1,000 different languages converged in this historic moment. Admiral Takshi stood at the podium, his decorated uniform bearing new insignia that represented humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Behind him, a massive hologram showed the known galaxy, with former Crixan territories now marked in various colors representing newly independent worlds. For 2 centuries, humanity hid in the shadows, he began, his words translated instantly to every language in the chamber. We built our strength in secret, preparing for a day we hoped would never come. Now that day has passed, and we face a new challenge, proving that we can be not just powerful but wise. In orbit above Earth, Captain Donovan watched from the bridge of the Artemis as ships from dozens of alien civilizations moved peacefully through space that just weeks ago had been a battlefield. The quantum shields that had once hidden humanity's true nature now served as traffic control systems, guiding vessels safely through the increasingly busy solar system. Another diplomatic delegation arriving from the Centauri sector, Commander Chen reported. Former Crixan subject worlds are still requesting protection agreements. The aftermath of humanity's victory had brought responsibilities none of their centuries of preparation had fully anticipated. Dozens of civilizations, freed from Crixan dominion, looked to Earth for leadership and protection. Humanity's demonstration of not just power but restraint had earned them respect throughout the galaxy. In her holding cell aboard a human prison station, Supreme Marshal Nyxus watched news broadcasts from across former Crixan space. The empire she had served her entire life was being systematically dismantled, but not with the cruelty she had expected. Instead, humanity was helping former subject worlds establish self-governance, providing technology and assistance to those who needed it. "I still don't understand," she said to Colonel Tanaka, who had come to interview her about Crixan military capabilities. "You had the power to destroy us completely. Why show mercy?" Tanaka's response carried the wisdom humanity had gained through centuries of its own bloody history. Because true strength isn't about destruction, it's about knowing when not to use the power you have. We prepared for war while hopping for peace. Now we have the chance to build something better than an empire. On Mars, Colonel Petrov's production facilities were being retooled. Instead of warships, they now produced civilian vessels, medical ships, and terraforming equipment. The same technology that had created weapons of war was being adapted to heal worlds damaged by centuries of Crixan exploitation. "The first humanitarian fleet is ready for launch," his assistant reported. "Medical ships and reconstruction crews are prepared to assist worlds in the former Outer Rim territories." General Rodriguez stood in her Kuiper Belt Command Center, watching as the Helios platforms were transformed into navigation beacons and power generation stations. The artificial suns that had trapped the Crixan fleet now provided energy to developing worlds, turning instruments of war into tools of progress. "We spent 200 years learning to fight," she mused to her staff. "Now we have to remember how to build." Commander Wells had taken on a new role, leading the integration of alien officers into Earth's defense forces. Former enemies and subjects alike trained alongside human crews, learning to use technology that had once been humanity's closest guarded secret. "The quantum drive simulators are showing promising results," she reported to Admiral Takshi. "The joint crews are adapting well to our technology. Integration is proceeding faster than expected." Back in Geneva, Director Zhang addressed the assembled representatives, his role as deceiver now transformed into that of diplomat. "The Terran Cooperative is not an empire. We do not seek subjects or slaves. What we offer is partnership, a chance to build a galaxy where strength serves justice and power protects peace." The vote that followed was unanimous. The former Crixan territories, along with dozens of independent worlds, joined with Earth to form a new galactic alliance. The Terran Cooperative would serve not as conquerors, but as guardians, using their advanced technology to prevent any single power from ever threatening galactic peace again. As the session concluded, Admiral Takshi stood at the great windows overlooking Geneva. Somewhere up there, hidden in the darkness between stars, humanity's warships still patrolled. But now they protected a dream of peace instead of preparing for war. 200 years ago, he said softly, we looked to the stars and chose to hide our light. We did it because we feared what we might find out there. Now we know that our greatest challenge wasn't winning a war, it's building a future worthy of all the worlds that look to us for leadership.